What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of ScreenFlow Live. Today's a special one. In the past, people have asked specifically just to kind of watch me doing my edits. So I'm going to sit here and I'm going to edit. We're going to do an entire tutorial from start to finish for something that we can learn how to do in ScreenFlow. You're going to see the whole process of how I create videos from start to finish, like I just said. So stick around. That's what the show is today. And we're back. And before we get started, like always, I just want to say you can always follow us on social media. Please do. On Twitter, you can find us at ScreenFlow. And on YouTube, you can find us. Just search ScreenFlowTube. You can find our ScreenFlow page there, and you'll see all of these videos. And on Facebook, of course, where you're watching right now, facebook.com/ScreenFlow. And if you want to, you can sign up for a notification. It will send you an email every time we go live. Should be right there on the screen. Sign up to be notified when we go live. Telestream.net/ScreenFlowLive. From there, you can get all the information to see, hey, what's going on? What are we talking about this week? And what we're going to be doing. We have a pretty cool new system here where I can hear Deborah Lee over there in the back who's running the production. But I'm going to now tell her to mute herself, please, because I just hear people talking back there. But we're just going to get into it. I'm going to tell you, we're just going to do a pretty basic recording of how to add a video action. Oh, by the way, if you have any questions, type them into the chat. I'm here to answer questions. That's really what it's all about. I want to make sure that you guys are comfortable with what you're doing in ScreenFlow and hopefully give you some insights into what I use ScreenFlow for. So we're going to record a quick demo tutorial, and then I'm going to take that recording and I'm going to edit it just like I would any sort of ScreenFlow video that I make, and then we're going to export it. And that shouldn't really take very long because it's something I do all the time. I'm pretty practiced with it, and maybe you'll learn something from it. So just to let you know, of course, I'm using this camera that you see me on. I'm going to be using it for my recording. I am in a green screen studio. Behind me is a big old green canvas, and I've got like lighting truss. So I've got a pretty good lighting setup here with green screen. And then I'm using this brand new, never been used, just got this brand spanking new. It's an Audio Technica AT2020 condenser USB mic. So it just plugs right into my computer, USB. This is like USB B, I think it's called, the connection. It doesn't really matter the connection. That's just what comes with the microphone. But it's just regular USB into your computer. And I'm using my MacBook Pro laptop, this microphone, and this camera with lighting, and that's all I'm going to use. So let's get right into it. First of all, I need to open up a brand new ScreenFlow document. So let's go up here, click on Configure Recording, New Document. Yeah, because I need to show you how to add a video transition in this hypothetical video that we're making. I'm going to go over here to my media library, bring in my Super Sweet. I've been having some issues with my global media library. I don't know what's going on there, but I think I'm going to bring in a different piece of media because that keeps happening to me. Hang on just 1 second here, peeps. Let's try this again. All right, here we go. New recording, new document, just kidding. Open up 1920 by 1080. And let's just grab a random video here. Here we go. Ignore that. Oh, that was the transition that I made. Let's try something else. Here's a little video for those of you who use Wirecast. We've released Wirecast 9 today, which is very exciting. And I'm going to detach the audio from this and just delete the audio because we don't need the audio coming from that. But we've just got this quick video with Andrew talking about the new features in Wirecast and what you can do with it. But I'm just going to use this as a sample video to add a video action. So in here, let's make this a little bit bigger. this is my template. This is what I'm going to be using as my canvas for creating this video. But of course I have to record myself. So now I'm going to configure my recording and set up my recording. I want to record from my BMD HDMI. That's the monitor that's plugged into my computer. I want to record video from the X1 100D USB HDMI number 4. That's just the capture card name that's bringing this camera in. And then record audio from my AT2020 USB Plus, my handy dandy brand new microphone. As you see, if I put it right to my face, I can make it spaz out a little bit. Oh, you're not seeing this screen. Oh yeah, you are. I've got 3 screens in front of me. I've got my monitor, and then the 2 monitors for my computer, and I got a little confused there. All right, so I've got my microphone ready to go. It looks like it's out of the camera because I can put my finger on top of the microphone and not see it in this video. So I'm good. I'm going to record. I don't need the computer audio. All right, here we go. So I'm just going to start. I know it's recording right now, but take a deep breath and say, hey everyone, Lucas here, and today in this tutorial we're going to learn how to add a video action to your media clips in the timeline of ScreenFlow. It's a super simple process. Watch how you do it. The first thing I want to let you know is that I want to take this shot right here of Andrew using the X keys interface, and I want to make it smaller and bring it down to the right hand side. So the first thing I want to do is highlight my clip in the timeline and then come over here to the editing panel. Click on the video editing panel and say add video action. And down here in the timeline, you're going to see that that yellow bar opened up. So I can zoom in on the timeline and get a better look at that yellow bar. And this is like the animation time. So at the beginning of this yellow box, you're going to have the start of the animation, and at the end of the yellow box, you're going to have the end of the animation. I'm going to make it just a little bit longer. There we go. And by the end of the animation, if my start state is just big like this, by the end of the animation, I want it to be much smaller. So I can just move my cursor to the end of the animation box, make it a little bit smaller, and bring it up to the top left corner. And now if I play this back, you can see that with just a couple clicks, I've made a little tiny animation in my video that takes my big video and puts it a little bit smaller and in the top left corner. So hopefully that helps you out, and that's how you add a video action in ScreenFlow. So there you go. I've made my video. I'm going to go up here, and now I'm going to stop that video, stop recording. It looks like it was a minute and 40 seconds. I'm going to create a brand new document. I can come back here and I can get rid of this. This is my canvas here. I just used it as an example. We're good to go. And if you've ever recorded with ScreenFlow before, you know this is what happens. You've got your camera in here. Tied to your camera is your audio, so I'm going to detach that audio. It's the first step generally that I make because I like to interact with it as 2 separate elements. I'm going to make my timeline layers just a little bit bigger, and we'll get started on that in a second, but it does look like we have a question here. Hang on a second. Stephen Hughes says, question, I know I'm jumping ahead here, apologies. Is there a way to export a portion of the project to render? I can only do this by deleting all clips outside of what I want to export. Stephen, there is. I use it absolutely all the time because it's a super huge pain in the butt to not do it this way. Let's say I want to, in this thing that I just did right here, I only want to record, I'm going to mute this for now. I only want to record, or export, excuse me, the part where it changes size in my example. So let's go find it. I just want to export this part right here to see how it looks. I'm going to line up at the beginning of what I want and say I on my keyboard. That's going to mark an in point. And then I'm going to scrub to the end of what I want and press O. What did I just do? Oh, I just moved the in point and out point. Whoops. All right, I want to start there. And then I'm going to come over here and say Oh, and you can see that blue bar that goes down the middle there. I guess I could have recorded this as a video tutorial, but there you go. Now that I have that blue set in there, and we'll see how much it is. It's just that right there. You know, I can actually stop it right there, make it a little bit shorter. Perfect. Now when I come up to export, it's going to say export selected range. It's only going to export what's in those blue lines. And that's as simply as it is. If you don't want to use your if you don't want to use your keyboard shortcuts, you can just come up to mark, the menu at the top here, mark in point, mark out point. And then when you're done, clear in and out points. And by marking the in point and the out point, you'll see in the file menu, export selected range instead of export in general. And that is how you export only a portion of the project. If you want to export just a single clip on a single layer, just copy and paste it to a different part of the project and export that. I don't think that's what your question was, but just in case, you can do that as well. But if you want everything all in the layers, just export that part. I do it all the time because when you have like some really complicated pieces of media and you're trying to do lots of transitions before or transitions through that media, sometimes ScreenFlow, the rendering engine in ScreenFlow, will lag a little bit and you don't see the perfect representation of what that transition will look like. I just export out that little tiny clip and say, oh, okay, that's exactly what I want it to look like. We're good to go. Hopefully that helps. Steven, you said, okay, that's perfect. So I assume that means, yeah, it helped. All right, back to the point at hand here. I've now made my recording, and I need to turn this into a functional piece of content. So first of all, I need to get rid of stuff that has nothing to do with it. So if we go back to the beginning. So I'm just going to start. I know it's recording right now, but take a deep breath and say, hey everyone. So right there is about where it started. So I'm going to zoom in a little bit, find that break, highlight everything, press T and delete, grab everything and pull it back to the start. Boom. There we go. The next thing I want is an intro or an outro if I have any of those. Oh no. I'm really scared to use my global media library right now. Hang on. I'm going to save this to my desktop as my test tutorial. And let's see if I can use my ScreenFlow logo stinger. Yes, it worked. Okay, I've got that in here. So I know I want this to play at the beginning, so I can grab all my media, pull it over to the right, and now I've got this ScreenFlow logo, and that's this little thing, a nice little intro. Perfect. So I've got that there. I want to come to the end, trim off what's left at the end that I don't want as my video. Action in ScreenFlow. So there you go. I've made my video. So that was it. That was the end. I can find that. Highlight all three and delete those. So now the only content I have in this is the beginning and the intro and the outro, which I'm going to Command C to copy the intro to put it at the end as well. Command V to paste it. So now I have all of this unedited footage, a screen recording, audio, and then at the beginning and the end, that. Now what I want to do is bring in a lower third. I want people to know who I am. So I'm going to grab this ScreenFlow Lite. I like that one. And I'm going to pull it in over here. And outside of my main project, of course, you could have these lower thirds ready to go by themselves already, but I'm just going to build this. I have this nice little thing. Outside of the main content of my project, I'm going to build out this lower third. So in this lower third, I want to put text. My first text will be my name, Lucas Bischofberger. And then, of course, it doesn't fit in there, so I'm going to make it a little bit smaller. Let's go down to 72. That's still too big because my name is super long. And that should work there. But I do want to change the color of it as well. I want to get kind of like a gray. So when I click on when I highlight all of the text and then click on the color thing, I can come down here and let's choose maybe like the gray of the timeline. I kind of like that gray. It's not going to work. Let's go with a, let's just go with black. There we go. That should work. And then I need another text box that says Product Marketing Manager, because that's my title here at Telestream. Highlight it all, drop it way down, maybe 36, maybe even make it italicized, and then bring it in here. And if I press Command while holding this piece of media, I can get rid of those snapping lines and really just dial in exactly where I want it to be. Perfect. I'm going to make that a black as well. Perfect. So now I have my lower third. I'm going to make sure that it comes all the way through. And then I'm going to nest this as a clip. Just do a little bit of timeline organization. Because now instead of 3 pieces of media, I just have 1 piece of media. And I can pull that over here. And I'm going to add a starting and ending transition to it. So if we zoom in here, make that a little bit shorter, down to 4 seconds in the ending part. Not 4 seconds, but 4, what is that, tenths of a second. So now it's...
Hey everyone, Lucas here, and today in this tutorial we're going to learn how to add a video action.
Alright, so next, I don't want a green screen. That's not what I'm looking for. Plus, at the beginning of my video, I want me to be the focus because I'm addressing the viewer. So I'm going to make this much bigger, take up the entire screen. I don't know if you saw that, but if I zoom out here, right there you can see this video has a shadow on it, and I don't want that either. So I can come here and get rid of the drop shadow, make it full size, and then come in and add a video filter. And in this case, I'm going to add chroma key. There you go. But now,
to your media clips in the timeline.
That's what I'm looking for, but I don't really like this look of a human being sitting right on top of the screen that you're recording, because it's hard to distinguish what begins where, and it's hard to know where to focus your eye. So what I like to do in these cases, because I do like the ScreenFlow interface behind me, what I'm going to do is in this screen recording, I'm going to add a blur to it. There's a couple different ways of doing blur. So let's see. We can of course add a video filter and just come in here and say blur. Gaussian blur is pretty typical. There you go. Now the background is blurred.
Super simple process.
If you don't want to do it that way, you can also come over to let's see. I haven't done this in a long time. I want to do a call out. Yep. Here. Let's bring this all the way to the front. Actually, let's show you how to do this. Let's get rid of this current Gaussian blur. And on this screen recording, we're going to do a call out, add a call out action. We're going to do freehand square, and we're going to grab this entire background, the entire thing. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to blur it. And now I have, just a different level of blur. So there's a couple different ways of adding blur. I think actually this case is better because you can add an out duration when you're doing a call out as opposed to just a filter. And what the out duration will do is, watch this, if I do an out duration of 0.5 seconds, when it gets to the end, let's make it full blur. Watch what happens to the blur in the background.
Process. Watch how.
Oh man, come on. Is that not working? It's not quite working for me. For some reason,
simple process.
I wanted that to fade out of the blur, but it's not quite happening. But either way, you can get your blur in there and then have it disappear whenever you're ready. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to find when I want to transfer the focus from me to the canvas. So let's play through the video.
Video action of ScreenFlow. It's a super simple process. Watch how you do it. The first thing
So right there where I said watch how you do it, that's when I'm going to make a transition, not necessarily a transition in the timeline, but a transition of focus to the canvas. So let's find it.
Watch how you do it.
Watch how you do it, right there. So that's when I want my blur to stop. Whoops.
Watch how you do it.
Right there. And coinciding with that blur stopping, I want to move myself as the focus out of focus and make ScreenFlow the focus. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to find my video, which is right here, and I'm going to add a video action to it. And at the end of this video action, I'm going to make myself much smaller and put myself in the corner. I still like having my face on there because, like you see in these videos that we're doing right here, the live one, it's nice to have kind of a touch point with the person who's teaching you what you're doing. Of course, if you don't want to do it that way, you don't have to. That's just what I like to do. I'm going to adjust my angle on my chroma key, see if I can get rid of that little line there on the side. There we go. That looks a little bit better.
First thing I want to let you know is that I want to take this shot right here of Andrew.
Okay, so let's see how this looks.
Super simple process.
From the very beginning, let's see how it looks. This I want to make sure it's all lined up. And actually, the stinger, I want to make everything blend together. So I'm going to highlight everything but that. Hang on, let me make this smaller. I'm going to highlight everything but the intro stinger after I bring it back. And what I can do by highlighting all of these things is I can now make a bit of a transition from the intro stinger, the intro video into the main video. So let's see how that looks.
Hey everyone.
Nice, quick
Lucas
little
here,
transition.
and
Good to
today
go.
In this tutorial, we're going to learn how to add a video action to your media clips in the timeline of ScreenFlow. It's a super simple process. Watch how you do it. The first thing
So I like that. Watch how you do it. Boom, boom, boom. It transitions from blurry in the background.
Watch how you do it. The first thing I want to let you know is that
There you go. So now I'm here. Now I'm starting to deliver the content. And what during this process, this is when you can kind of move around the screen to highlight what you want to talk about.
I want to take this shot right here of Andrew using the X.
So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to watch my video until I find a visual or a verbal cue that would make sense for changing the focus of the current video.
Interface, and I want to make it smaller and bring it down to the right hand side. So the first thing I want to do is highlight my clip in the
Highlighting the clip, I don't think that needs extra focus. I'm not going to zoom in on that. It's very clear that I've clicked that clip and now it's highlighted in yellow.
So the first thing I want to do is highlight my clip in the timeline and then come over here to the editing panel.
So now I've said I want to come over to the editing panel, and that's pretty small. So now what I want to do is I want to add another video action to my canvas and zoom in on that editing panel. So let's find
Come over here to
I think come over here would be a good point to start this transition.
and then come over here.
Come over here. So make sure I have my canvas selected, add my video action, and then at the end of the video action, doesn't quite matter what the timing is on that yet, because first I just got to see what I want it to look like. Let's zoom in like this.
Here to the
So let's see how that looks. Maybe we want to adjust the time, maybe not.
in the timeline, and then come over here to the editing panel. Click on the video editing panel and say add video action.
So we came over here and we saw this, but then I'm clicking add video action, and I know that when I click add video action, there's going to be a little yellow box that pops up in the timeline. So by the time I click that button, I need to be zoomed back out. And because of a cool feature in ScreenFlow, I can just add a snapback action and it'll take me back to my previous state. So I can do actions, add snapback action for video right here. Oops, I was highlighted on the wrong thing. Let's add a snapback action in my canvas, not my camera. There we go. So let's work on the timing of this here.
Then come over here to the editing panel. Click on the video editing panel and say add video action.
So I want to make that a little bit earlier.
Panel and say add video action.
Maybe even more so, just a little bit earlier, so we can see that yellow bar
Video
pop
editing
up.
panel and say add video action.
There we go. I
And
like
down
that.
here in the timeline, you're going to see that yellow bar opened up. So I can
And I think it is, especially because when I recorded, that little yellow bar was pretty small. I think it's worth putting another video action here and zooming in on that area. So let's come here.
you're going to see that
You can see, well, you can't see, so let's make sure that you can see. Make that nice and big, pull it up. There, that makes a little bit more sense.
timeline and down here in the timeline, you're going to see that yellow bar opened up. So I can zoom in on the timeline and get a better look at that yellow bar.
Now here, when I zoomed in, that yellow bar came on top of my head. So I have a couple different options here. I could move the focus of the entire canvas, or I can just move myself. But before I make that decision, I want to see what happens next.
And this is like the animation time. So at the beginning of this yellow box, you're going to have the start of the animation, and at the end of the yellow box, you're going to have the end of the animation. I'm going to make it just a little bit longer.
So I'm going to be working with this for just a second. So I think in this case, I'm going to move myself over to the left-hand side and keep this focus.
Opened up. So I can zoom in on the timeline and get a better look.
So right about there, I want to come back to this guy, add another video action, and just pull myself over here.
Zoom in on the timeline and get a better look at that yellow bar.
And if you don't like that, which I totally understand, some people don't necessarily like moving the person around. Maybe it's easier to move the canvas. You can do that as well. There's multiple different ways of doing it.
And this is like the animation time. So at the beginning of this yellow box, you're going to have the start of the animation. And at the end of the yellow box, you're going to have the end of the animation.
How am I doing the fast play, said Scott Rogers. That's a keyboard hotkey short. Oh my gosh. Anyways, it's a button you press on your computer. The JKL, which is pretty basic and classic for editing programs in general, will adjust the speed of playback in your timeline. If I press J, now we're going backwards. If I press J again, now we're going real fast backwards. K is pause. L is play. L again is fast forward. L again is super fast forward. Play around with them, but it's the J, K, L keys on your keyboard that allow you to go faster or slower. And it's something that I use often because I don't necessarily want to hear myself say what I just said 5 or 6 times as I'm scrubbing through my canvas. So I can just move through things real quickly.
And get a better look at that yellow bar. And this is like the animation time. So at the beginning of the box, you're going to have the animation.
So this is the next time I do something. I want to make sure I don't have to do anything here.
A little bit longer. There we go. And by the end of the animation, if my start state is just big like this.
So now I'm starting to reference what's in the canvas. We can't see it. So what I want to do in both these cases is add a snapback action back to my original thing. So let's see what is going to read on this snapback. That's good. Put that there. And then what's the snapback action on this? The snapback action on this, yeah, that wasn't what I wanted. That was actually going to go all the way back to that one. So I'm just going to make a quick and easy change here. And now we should have back to the original state.
And by the end of the animation, if my start state is just big like this, by the end of the animation, I want it to be much smaller. So I can just move my cursor to the end of the animation box, make it a little bit smaller, and bring it up to the top left corner. And now if I play this back, you can see that with just a couple clicks, I've made a little tiny animation in my video that takes my big video and puts it a little bit smaller and in the top left corner. So hopefully that helps you out, and that's how you add a video action in ScreenFlow.
So one thing I want to do here is maybe just add a little bit of overlap here. I didn't like that as much. I want to overlap my actual face. There we go. That looks a little bit better. And then I want to mirror my nested clip lower third so I can just copy and paste it and bring it back here, add it in at the end.
Bit smaller and in the top left corner. So hopefully that helps you out, and that's how you add.
And you know, maybe there at the end I can bring back that motif from the beginning. Maybe motif isn't the right word, but that style from the beginning. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add another video action to my camera, and this time I'm going to make myself full screen again, because I am giving just kind of like a little goodbye to my audience. And then down here I'm going to add, you know what, here's another way of doing it. I'm going to split this clip. This is an interesting tactic here. What I want to do is I want to have a nice blur or a cross fade transition into a blur. So I'm gonna split the clip and treat it differently. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to drop it down just a little bit, and then I'm going to extend itself back. Because what that does is when I pull it back here, I now have a transition for this background.
A little bit smaller.
But you're not going to see it because it's two of the same clips being transitioned over each other. But what happens is if I now add a blur, a Gaussian blur to this piece, now let's see what happens.
A little bit smaller and in the top left corner.
It's going to slowly blur itself in. And then I can line up my video action perfectly with that transition. And what I'm going to get is a transition of my camera and a cross blur of the background simultaneously as I'm giving my goodbyes.
Smaller and in the top left corner. So hopefully that helps you out, and that's how you add a video action in ScreenFlow.
I got to say, I think I should be a little bit bigger. I look a little bit cramped in here, so I'll just make it a little bit bigger like that. That's how I like it.
Smaller and in the top left corner. So hopefully that helps you out, and that's how you add a video action in ScreenFlow.
And you know what? Classic move when you're bringing in two different types of media live, both camera and microphone. I think my audio is a little bit off sync, so let's try and have a discerning
eye. Lucas here, and today in this tutorial we're going to learn how to add.
Oh yeah, I see it. I think you guys probably see it too. It's very clear that there's a desync going on here. So let's highlight the audio because it's easier to move the audio because I haven't done much. And then the brackets key, left bracket and right bracket, those are the ones right above the return. Those will step media clips in the timeline frame by frame, backwards or forwards. Like if I go 1, 2, 3, 4, you can see that just slightly stepping back and forth. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and see, is my audio behind or in front of my video? Let's see.
Hey everyone, Lucas here, and
it's hard sometimes to see that.
Hey everyone, Lucas.
I think it might be behind. Let's move it forward 3 frames and see what happens.
Hey everyone, Lucas.
Oop, that looks worse. So it looks like it was the other way. So I'm going to move it 6 frames. So 3 frames from the original.
Hey everyone, Lucas.
Oh, I think it needs to go a little bit further.
Hey everyone, Lucas here, and
Ooh, almost there.
hey everyone, Lucas here, and today.
Almost.
Hey everyone, Lucas here, and today in.
I think we're almost there. It's really.
Hey everyone, Lucas here, and today in this tutorial.
You know, I think that's probably good. And I get a little anal about these things. Sometimes I'll sit here for like 10 minutes trying to dial it in, and then you start to lose it a little bit because it's really, really actually difficult to line voice up with video if you're breaking it down into 60 frames per second. That means every second is divisible by 60, and our brains and our eyes don't really process information that quickly. So it's one of those things where you start getting really neurotic about it, but at the end of the day, it's not really a big issue. So let's see how this looks.
Hey everyone, Lucas here, and
that looks better. Now I can come to the end and probably cut off this last section of audio. And it looks like I could probably extend this here. That looks good. Let's just double check the end looks
a little
good.
bit smaller and in the top left corner. So hopefully that helps you out, and that's how you add a video action in ScreenFlow.
Perfect. So now I think that I've added all of the animations and the movement and all of the edits that I need to do. The only thing left now would be to export. So let's come up here. This is my web high customized. I've gone over this many times. I like the 1200 kilobits per second. And I don't need any motion blur because I don't have a lot of things going on. So now I'm going to export and let that go. So if you guys have any questions, let me know. But that is how I use ScreenFlow on a regular basis. When I'm doing basic videos like this, of course I do more complicated things, but I've had a lot of people say, hey, I just want to sit there and watch you edit. And of course, I don't narrate when I edit. That'd be very strange. So this probably took me maybe 10 or so minutes longer than it normally would have. I can sometimes crank these out real fast. I know for when we launched the latest version of ScreenFlow, I did like 50 of these videos. And it takes a long time to do 50, I'll tell you that right now. But this was a pretty simple tutorial. And now I've taught you how to add a video action to ScreenFlow. So go ahead and ask any questions. Here in a minute or so, I'm going to play the video back. And at the end of that, I think we're going to be done for the day. Just spending some time with me editing a video. Let me move this out of the way and make sure I'm ready for my video when it is done. By the way, I cannot recommend any higher this microphone. I used to be on the Blue Yeti train, and I don't think a Blue Yeti is bad. But every once in a while I had issues with them. I don't know if I can think of something specific right now, but this microphone is just killer. I think it's about $150. But it just I've done massive voiceover projects. I did all of the videos with ScreenFlow with this one, except for a couple that weren't as good because I didn't use this one. And it was just, it's a great microphone. That's all I gotta say. All right, let's listen to this. Let's watch this video that we just made here in a matter of a half an hour or so, maybe even less.
Hey everyone, Lucas here.
Okay, so I wasn't being super specific with my editing, and I probably would have taken out that extra little fragment of time at the beginning. You can see it. Not an issue right now, but I would have done that if I had checked my work a little bit more.
Hey everyone, Lucas here, and today in this tutorial we're going to learn how to add a video action to your media clips in the timeline of ScreenFlow. It's a super simple process. Watch how you do it. The first thing I want to let you know is that I want to take this shot right here of Andrew using the X keys interface, and I want to make it smaller, and bring it down to the right-hand side. So the first thing I want to do is highlight my clip in the timeline, and then come over here to the editing panel. Click on the video editing panel and say Add Video Action.
Whoa.
And down here in the timeline, you're going to see that
Ladies
yellow
and gentlemen,
bar opened up. So I can zoom in on.
Does anybody see that? This is why you always check your work, whether you've exported or not. This video action.
Watch how you do it. The first thing I want to let you know is that I want to come over here to.
What happened to that video action? Come on now. All right, let's try this again. For some reason, it got detethered. So let's add that back in.
And come over here to the editing panel and say Add Video Action. And down here in the
That was frustrating.
timeline, you're going to see that yellow, and get a better look at that yellow.
I don't remember quite what I did that caused that. Probably something, but I don't remember.
It's just big like this. By the end of the animation,
And then this one got all mixed up too.
it's just big like
Huh. Must be having to do with my snapback actions and getting all messed up.
big like this. By the end of the animation,
Let's see if that ruined my original.
over here to.
Huh. Something weird is going on with these video snapbacks. So you know what? I'm just going to take out that video snapback. And I'm going to do everything a little bit more manual here.
To the editing panel. Click on the video editing panel and say Add.
So let's add that video action again before I click the button. Perfect. Let's move this back to full screen. Here we go.
Panel and say Add Video Action.
Let's see if
Down
this
here
one's
in the
lined
timeline,
up.
You're going to see that
Yep.
that yellow.
Let's see if
get
this
a
one
better
is.
Look at that yellow
Yep.
bar.
And
this is-
then my final double.
It's just big like this.
That
By
looks
the
good.
end,
And then this last one.
a little bit smaller and in the top left.
Perfect. So now I can re-export, rewrite that old one. Oh no, remember I was going to change that beginning. All right, let's go all the way back to the beginning. I'm going to take off that much. Delete this little bit. And then grab everything and move it back to there.
Hey everyone, Lucas here.
All right, ladies and gentlemen. Now we can export. And hopefully by the end of this, we're going to be doing a lot better. So, I don't really think that there's much left to show you. You guys have seen this. It doesn't look like any more questions are coming in. So, I'm going to call it here. That was how you spend time editing in ScreenFlow. That's what like an actual editing session looks like for a relatively simple video. Just a quick tutorial about the ScreenFlow interface. Keep in mind, not every video that you're going to do is going to be that simple and that quick and that easy, but the basis of every video that you create will use pretty much everything we went over right there. Adding video actions, cutting and splicing things together, moving things around in the timeline, organizing your media so it works a little bit better for you, and then exporting your video out after you've done a sweet screen recording. So hopefully that was helpful. I just want to remind you, if you guys want to follow us on social media, we've got YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook. And you can see that right here. Facebook is facebook.com/ScreenFlow. Twitter, we are at ScreenFlow. And on YouTube, just search for ScreenFlowTube. And you can see these videos hosted there. We also have an ability to sign up for notifications. Telestream.net/ScreenFlowLive. If you sign up there, you can get a notification that we're going live and what the title of the content is, or the title of the show is. And then also just a quick reminder, we did just release Wirecast 9 today. So if you're interested in the Wirecast, the live streaming side of things, go check out Wirecast, telestream.net/Wirecast, I think. Or just type Wirecast into Google. It'll bring you right there. So thanks, everyone, for showing up today. And I will see you in a couple weeks. Have a wonderful weekend. Bye-bye.